Hey, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to HTML Basics. Today we're going to be covering links and images and how to include them in our browser. And just to let you know, before starting this project, I downloaded some images, so feel free to go onto the internet and download whatever images you want when following along. But first, we'll talk about attributes. All elements in HTML have attributes, and attributes provide information about an element and are placed within the opening tags of the element and come in key value pairs, meaning we can include links and images and then also style cell element, but that will come with CSS and in future lessons. Okay, let's get started with A tags. A tags are just like any other HTML tag in the sense that they have an opening tag and a closing tag, and of course, as we learned in the previous episode, the closing tag has a / to signify its closing tag. Now, we're going to set up a link that will take us to Amazon homepage. Now, to do this, we will need to put text within our A tags, as otherwise, if there is no text, there is essentially no link or nowhere where the user can click to eventually go to our website. So if we refresh, we'll see that at the moment we have nothing in our A tags. But if we click here and go into the A tag and say clicking this link will take you to Amazon.com, and then we save the link and then we go to our browser, we will see that the link will appear here. But you'll see that at the moment, if we click on the text, we will not actually be taken to the Amazon homepage. This is because we haven't actually set the link to go towards the Amazon homepage. So therefore, we will need to insert an attribute called href. Href allows us to set links to chosen locations. And so if we go to Amazon.com, go into the search bar, click copy, go to our code, and within the href quotations, we click paste, and we'll see here that we now have the link to Amazon.com. And so then, if we save, go to our browser, click refresh, we'll now see that we have a hyperlink to Amazon.com. And if we click it, we actually get the Amazon homepage from our browser. However, you'll notice that at the moment we have it in the same tab as our project, meaning that we need to constantly click go back to get to our original HTML project. If, however, we want it in a new tab, we will need to introduce a new attribute in our A tag. This attribute is known as a target element and essentially does what it says on the tin and targets where we want to open on the web page. So if we type in target and then the value of blank, this will allow us to open in a new. So if we type that in, then click save, then update, and then in our project, we should now see when we click the link, we get it in a new tab, and there we go. The Amazon homepage opens in a new tab. All right, now that we're done with links, we can now move on to putting images in our browser. But first, we'll introduce a new element called BR tags, which are essentially breaker lines, and you'll see that they don't actually have any closing elements. This is because BR tags are known as void tags, and they represent a single standalone element. And as always, like we learned in the last episode with the exclamation point, there is a shortcut for BR lines and other things in general. Whether you want to type in BR and ×3, and you'll see that we get the exact element, rather than having to type out BR and then BR and then BR again. Alright, so then if you see in my folder, I already have a few images pre-downloaded. So if we then go to our code and type in the image tag, we'll see that when we eventually get the image tag, we get a source and an alt. The source is where we get the image from, and the alt appears if there is a problem with the image, and I'll cover that as I go along. Alright, so if we put the source of the first image that we want, within the quotation marks of the attribute. Then we click save, we go to our browser, and then we click refresh, and there you have it. We now have an image in our HTML project. Then going back to the image element and now the alt attribute, we will type in some text such as this pic goes hard. And now if we change the source so that it is not correct and we go back to our browser, we'll see that we have that text here. So essentially, as I said earlier, if there is a problem with the source, your alt will appear as default. So then if we go and change the source back to the correct link, we'll see that we get the image back. Alright, so now let's include another image. We'll include a few more breaker lines so the images aren't stacked up upon each other, and we'll type in another image element. And this time we'll type in another, this time it'll be JPEG, and again we'll type in the source, and again we'll type in the alt. So if there is anything wrong with the source or the origin of the source, then the alt will appear by default. So you'll see there we have yet another image. And then, as I said, if we just get rid of the G and then go back and save, we'll see there that the image is not available because the source is not correct. And if we change the source back to being correct, save it, go back to our browser, there we have it. We have the image back in its proper form. Alright, now we'll deal with images if they are located in a separate folder to our current HTML file. Another word for folder when dealing with coding is a directory, but we'll leave that for now and we'll discuss that later. So if it's in another folder to your HTML file, we will need to set up a different pathway. So again, we'll set up a few breaker lines, hopefully properly, and then we'll type in a image element. We'll press tab so we get the source and the alt again. Now, to get a different folder, we need to use a full stop and then a forward slash. The full stop and forward slash essentially shows or tells the code that we need to look for another folder. So if we do forward slash, full stop, forward slash images, and then we get the image that we want, we'll see here that it's just one full stop. If our index.html were in its own folder or directory, we would need two full stops and then a forward slash. But since it's not the case, we'll leave it as one full stop and a forward slash. So when we save and go to our browser, we'll see here that we get the image that we wanted from the folder. Now we'll deal with getting an image directly from the internet, i.e. HTTPS. So what we'll need to do is we'll need to create a new image element by typing in img again, and then tab, and then as always we'll get the source and the alt, and then I'll just copy and paste the link that I already had. So in this case, in the source, we will literally just copy the HTTPS link, and then when we go to our browser, refresh, there we have it. The image directly from the internet. Okay, and there you have it. We have images in the same file path and then in a different folder or directory, and then we have an image from the web directly. Now I don't know about you, but the images are a bit big and I want to style them to make them more appealing and so we can see more of them on the page. So if we go to our first image and then type in the attribute of height, set that to 50% and width also to 50%, and then we save. We then go to our browser and you'll see that the image changes to its 50% height and 50% width. There we go. So then if we do also the same for the second image and we set that also to its own width and height. So in this case, I will do 75% height and 75% width. And then because my boy Tony is looking a bit big, will bring him down to a height of 20% and width of 20% also. So then we save, go to the browser and refresh. But you'll see here that these two images are on the same line, whereas I want them on separate lines. And because I haven't put any breaker lines, that's the reason why. So if we add a few breaker lines there, click save, go back to our browser, refresh, and there we have it. Tony is on a separate line to the rest of the gang. And there we have it. You've now done height and width and styling the images on the web page. And we've also set up an Amazon link that goes into its own tab. I then, to finish off, just wanted to cover how we can get an image when we click on it into another tab. Now to do that, we will have to put one of the images in an A tag, as the A tag, as we learned with the Amazon link, takes us into another tab and gives us options as to what to do with the image. So if we set up an A tag and then put the image in the A tag, this will allow us to manipulate the image so that when we click on it, we will get it in a new tag. So if we drag the image into the A tag and then change the H reference to the exact same link and the exact same file path as our original image. And then so when we put the image link into the href like this, we can then set the target to be blank, which, as we know from the Amazon link, will allow us to open the image in another tab. So when we save, refresh, and then click the image, we will see here that we get the image in a brand new tab. All right, cool. So we have successfully set up links with A tags, taking us to the Amazon website and setting up the target attribute, meaning we can take it to a new tab. And we have also set up image tags, and we've also learned about BR tags, both of which are void tags because they have no closing element. Cool. And we've also put an image in an A tag to allow us to manipulate it just like we did the link. Nice. So that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed. And if you did, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.